I want to start with probably what is a reminder, and that's quite interesting for this lesson because it's analogous to what we're going to talk about. But this here is a memory model, and basically what we're suggesting and what cognitive science relies upon to some degree at least is that lots of information comes into sensory memory here. This is things we see, feel, hear, sense, etc. It's a very large, very short-term store. We get rid of a whole bunch of stuff and we encode into our working memory, which we might call our short-term memory. We encode a bunch of stuff, but this working memory is important. Working memory is where thinking occurs. And what we need to understand about it is that it is absolutely definitely limited. Okay, so it will only manage a few chunks of things. Okay, so and you'll know this. What we're talking about is we're talking about a limited series of chunks of information. Now, if you try and think about lots of things in one go, of course, we will sort of sense that kind of overloading of that system going on. Now, what we need to realize as well, of course, is that when we think about things in this working memory, the way the human brain works is it thinks about things in association. So in order to think about things, we need to draw from our long-term memory. In other words, we need to retrieve items from here, and we need to bring them into our short-term memory, our working memory, in order to be able to think about them, and then we can encode them, put them all together in long-term memory as associations. Okay, that's roughly how this works. So one of the things we need to realize here is that if we want to learn something new, or if we want our students to learn something new, we have to realize that that is going to be based on a background, knowledge base. So it's quite an interesting little paradox, that one, is that if you want your students to learn something new in your PE lesson, it is going to be in association with some background knowledge base. Now, of course, we can think about that very logically. There was no end there, was there? We can think about that very logically, and we can say things like, our students are going to learn the principle of gamesmanship upon the principle of sportsmanship. They're going to link that to that previous idea. That's an obvious one. You might then ask yourself, well, how do people learn anything that is the first part of a course? Well, obviously, when we come and we learn about bones and muscles or things like, we're basing things on more general knowledge backgrounds, and then we're linking it to those and making them more technical and more formalized. So the background knowledge base is very, very, very important. Therefore, if we can practice this process, if we can practice active recall, if we can practice bringing things out of our long-term memory back into our working memory, if we can practice the active recall, and it must be active, by the way, then what we're going to find is that learning new things is more achievable. And that, my friends, is a beautiful, if paradoxical idea. If we want to learn something which is brand spanking new to our students, what do we have to do? Is we have to develop good active recall behaviors in those students. So let's give a worked example. Let's say, oh, by the way, before I go on to that, this is why Rosenshine talks about that short review at the start of lessons where there's new learning occurring. He recommends it to be something like 5 to 8 minutes of activity, there or there. I suppose that would be like for an hour lesson. And its impact, I find this really its impact is it frees up space in working memory. Now, just to be clear, because we practice something from the past, it means that when we learn something new, we've got space here. Why? Because we are linking it to established learning from previously. Okay, we connect it together. Now let's look at a worked example. Let's just assume for a second that in today's lesson you're going to be teaching your students stuff like, let's say that it's going to be respiratory system. Let's say that you're going to be doing things like, with your students, you're going to be doing things like lung volumes. You're going to be doing things such as pathway of air. The air goes in through the mouth and the nose into the trachea. You're going to do that. And let's say you're going to do mechanics of breathing. Okay, what might your short review look like? Well, maybe they haven't learned respiratory system before, so I'm going to make my short review look like this. I'm going to ask this series of questions. They're snappy, they're quick fire. I'm going to ask the students where, and probably I'll do this in an online quiz, but where is the heart? And they might come back with me left centre of the thoracic cavity. Name the 4 chambers: 2 upper atria, 2 lower ventricles. Which vessels exit the heart? These are always arteries. The 2 main ones are the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Which vessel returns to the heart? That's a vein. Where does the pulmonary artery lead? The lung. You see how this is active recall. Snap, 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 snap. So I'm going to encourage them to go through this question. Now, I should be clear here. In my model, I would do that as an individual quiz. And it would be an online quiz. Now, you don't have to do it that way. I would use my platform, theeverlearner.com, for that. But I would use an individual online quiz. You could do that as a piece of paper. You could put it on the big screen. Obviously, on the big screen, you can't be sure who's contributing equal amounts to those things. But what I would do afterwards is the following, folks. What I would then do, we do that practice. I would then introduce respiratory system. Now, perhaps for argument's sake, I might introduce something like structures. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the mouth, the nasal cavity, the trachea, the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli. Then I'm going to practice it. So I'm going to get the students to practice that knowledge from before. Now, you might not already know this is called direct instruction. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce, let's say, volumes. Then guess what happens? We're going to practice it. Maybe we'll even get a spirometer on the go. Who knows? We're going to practice it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce mechanics. Maybe I'll do a practical to help them practice that. Who knows? But we are definitely going to practice it. So let's have a look at what we've just said there. We're going to do a quick review, reminding of the CV type considerations. Notice words like diffusion. Notice terms like volume. Notice terms like rate. Notice terms like oxygen. Notice terms, of course, we're going to get to alveoli in a second. So we're talking about blood vessels, albeit the capillaries are the most important ones in that particular conversation. Nevertheless, we are clearly building new learning on the respiratory system associated to what? The CV system. That is functional for our lessons and will help our students to build that new learning on top of there. Now, if we were, you don't have to do a quiz. So let's, there's loads of ways of doing this. So let's have a look at an alternative. Alternatives to the quiz that I would do online quizzing. But classic examples from cognitive science are things like brain dumps. You literally write everything down that you can remember from the CV system. I'm not a big fan of that one personally. There's what's called M and M from M. These are called mind maps from memory, where students have to write out their knowledge of, let's say, the CV system, all interlinked and associated. And of course, the one that I would use is quizzing. Okay, I would use quizzing, and there is only one world-class place to do that. I'm going to say on theeverlearner.com. Okay, now that's your choice where you do that, but that is definitely where I would do that. And literally built it for that purpose. So theeverlearner.com. So those are those alternatives. And can I just remind you that before we finish this, it's not just about reviewing at the start of lessons. That's one review that Rosenshine definitely recommends. It's a key principle of Rosenshine. But there are other forms of review. Can I please remind you, and we've got entire courses on spacing, by the way, so please do have a look. We've also got the concept of space review, which Rosenshine endorses. Can you remember, for example, that Rosenshine basically recommends a daily, weekly, monthly review? Now, the way I personally do that, I don't see my students daily, so I do a lesson, then weekly, monthly review. I'm going to try and structure that for my students. Also, whenever my students do these reviews, when they do a subsequent review, so for example, let's say the weekly one will be more challenging than the previous one, the daily or the lesson. Subsequent review is more complex. Now, this is really important, folks. When we do space review, subsequent attempt must be harder than the one before. Complexity increases over time. This develops something called the DDs, the desirable difficulty of tasks. And one of the things, again, it becomes paradoxical when we first say it, but one of the things we're actually trying to do here is trying to reduce retrieval strength. That seems weird. Sure, we want a strong retrieval. No, the way we increase memory strength is by making things difficult and reducing temporarily the retrieval strength. Therefore, once we process that, we will memorize things better. Again, can I just say, obviously see the specific guidance on our spacing course. And then finally, folks, if I just bring in the idea of interleaving for you again, we've got whole tutorials on this elsewhere, but interleaving, one of the things that is excellent practice for you to do, especially with space review, is to interleave new and older material together. Some research shows that if students practice old and new material together, they will increase retention of those ideas over a month period by over 70%. So I think it's 73%. Some interesting research on the Meta Learners website. If you're interested, go and have a look at that. So what we're saying here is we're saying up arrow, we get an increase in retention. Okay, and this is an important term, despite a struggle. So just to be clear, by interleaving old and new together, we're causing desirable difficulty in our review. We're causing a slight struggle. They're going to sense it, feel that they'll say, "Oh, sir, this is hard." But that struggle, okay, through this process, what's it going to do? It's going to increase retention, and that ultimately is why we're trying to structure things in this interleave way, at least potentially.